Hi, if you've ever dreamed of being able to speak a foreign language, but you really struggle with either the motivation to get started or you're learning a language and you've hit that point where you just really want to speak it, you want to be fluent, but you just cannot bear to open your study books, or you cannot bear to sit down and do some study, then listen on, because I'm going to get into that here in this video. Plus I'm going to give you some tips and tricks for helping you with motivation. If you're new here, I'm Kelly, language coach and fellow language learner, helping you learn languages in the best and most fun way for you. Motivation, it's a huge topic, and no matter how good your motivation is, at some point we all struggle with lack of motivation. And the first thing I want to address is people who are just starting to learn a language. Maybe you're a few weeks in or a few months in. Motivation at the beginning is generally really good for most people because it's new and exciting. But after a few weeks or a few months, that motivation can go. And the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is really think about your why behind the language you're learning. So if you're learning French, why are you learning French? Is it because you have a passion for France, you've always wanted to visit, or you just love French cooking or French culture? Or is it because you did French at school and you kind of feel that you made a start years ago and it makes sense to carry on? They're both very different motivations. One is very intrinsic. You want to learn French because you feel such a connection and you really do love the language or the culture or the country. The other is more of an extrinsic motivation. So you're learning it because, hey, you started it at school. It's something else you can put on your CV or another string you can add to your bow. And I found with extrinsic motivation, when you get that reward from something outside of yourself, it's much more difficult to keep your motivation up. And I started learning French as an adult. I'd done it at school, and my thinking of learning it as an adult was I'd done it at school and I'd lived in France for 6 months, so it made sense to learn French. And I struggled with French for 2 years as an adult, and then I was honest with myself and I realised that no, I didn't really have any love for French. But I had, however, always had a real pull towards Spanish music and the culture. And I just love the sound of the language. And so a few months ago, I started learning Spanish, and the difference and the speed of the progress has just been phenomenal. So really look at your motivation and really look at your reason behind why you're learning the language. That's the first thing. The second thing I would look at doing, if you've been learning a language for a while and you know that the language you're learning is the right language for you, then look at what you're doing when you're studying. Are you always glued to your self-study book? Are you always listening to the same podcasts? Are you always working on the same text? If you are, then the chances are that you're just bored with what you're doing and you need to change things up. And I notice this quite a lot with myself. I can do the same thing for a week or two and then I need to completely change. And then I might go back to it again. So with the Afrikaans, I've got 2 self-study books that I do use. And I flip between the 2 of them all the time because I can work on one for a few weeks, then I get bored and then do the other one. And I'm also working on a text now with audio. It's a story, and I'm good with that at the moment. It's centered around Christmas, so it was all sort of relative to things that were happening. But I can feel now that maybe in a week or 2 I'm going to be bored of that and then I'm going to have to go on to something else. So that's the biggest thing I think with motivation. So if you're just starting out, or maybe even if you're not just starting out and you're really struggling, look at your why. Why are you learning it? Why are you doing it? Don't do something you don't enjoy. Don't do something you're really not in love with, because you're making it really difficult for yourself. And the other thing, if you're sure that the language you're learning is the right language, then just look at what you're doing in your study sessions and change it up. Because I've found that one of the most important things in language learning is, yes, consistency, but also variety. And if you're bored of what you're doing, you're not going to be excited, you're not going to want to spend time on it. So that's my little tip for today, just a short video. Like I've said before, I do offer coaching to people who want to learn languages, and I coach you not on a specific language, so it doesn't matter what language you're learning, but I help you with things like motivation, figuring out what type of learner you are, finding the right resources for you, and then if you're a little bit further along, maybe something's not working for you, we can figure out things that you can do to help you get around that. So if you are interested in the coaching that I do, you can either contact me directly at kelly@fruitfulfunfluent.com, or you can head on over to my website www.fruitfulfunfluent.com. Also, do let me know down below how you get out of your demotivation. So when you feel like you just can't be bothered, what do you do? Do you have any tips or tricks that you can share with us? That's everything for now, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.